see. Oh, yep, we know exactly what Isaac's playing, I think, as we see those options. Oh no, the options coming down a little bit different, but not punishing prizes for either, I don't think.
No, the Espeon VMAX prize is a pretty big deal, and you can see the Lightning Energy too, so some of our viewers at home maybe are able to piece things through, but we'll explain this deck. Isaac is playing our good old friend Arceus VStar with the Flying Pikachu VMAX, as well as some other cool tech Pokemon in here, like the Espeon VMAX, to help prevent some of these effects, like that of the, Yveltal.
Yeah. Well, this is something that actually Andrew brought up in his chat with Adam Watson. You're kind of relying on, when you play something like this, you're relying on that Dunsparce to be non-existent. And being able to catch those players who aren't playing the Dunsparce is absolutely huge. So being able to work around that one seems like the play, but as the standard start for the Arceus player, Arceus V, get that down, get that going nice and early. There's plenty of different energy options in there as well, so he's got a lot to do. But the Ultra Ball is going to be the start here. Going to be able to go in and get another Pokemon out at his leisure. It's the Oranguru, Primate Wisdom once again for Dan. And yeah, Ultra Ball goes in. He's going to be able to take a look through the deck, see what's prized, and see how he can keep this turn rolling. Arceus functioning kind of similarly, in my mind, to the Lugia. I mean, not only is it colorless, but you really want to get that early turn. And once you get the tempo set for yourself, you can just win, make sure your board's set up for the next few turns, and keep things rolling.
Yeah, both decks have a pretty strong resemblance in that their turn twos are pretty similar in the sense that they're both trying to do something specific on turn two. They've got a set game plan. With Arceus, it's getting the Arceus V-Star out and finding whatever pieces you need and powering up your secondary Pokemon, or as we've seen sometimes, other Arceus as well. With Lugia, it's the same thing. Get those Archeops in the discard pile, and turn two, you want a Summoning Star and start attacking with your variety of Pokemon that you have access to. Isaac here deciding to play the Ultra Ball doesn't really have information on what Dan is playing. Oranguru makes you think there's a few decks. Lost Box sometimes plays this deck. There's other decks like Lugia, of course, that plays this. And Isaac understands that Flying Pikachu against both of these decks is really strong. Against Lost Box, it's strong because it prevents these basic Pokemon like Cramorant from dealing damage to it. And against something like the Lugia V-Star, well, you want to attack with Flying Pikachu because it's a Lightning-type Pokemon into Lugia, which is Lightning weak.
Yep, well, it is going to be passed over to Dan, being able to give him those options. Figure out how he wants to play through this one. He's just reading up on those cards, making sure he knows exactly how he's going to be able to navigate this game. But he's got options in the hand. I do see some Lugia pieces in there. I do see a Capture Energy as well. So being able to get that down on the Oranguru, that will allow him access to the deck to go and grab something he needs to get the ball rolling. And an easy choice for him with that Lugia hitting the bench right away. Didn't decide to keep looking, just knows all I need now is a Lugia. Give me that, and I will play the rest of the game.
Yeah, so there is a lot of ways to discard cards, multiple copies of Quick Ball, but there's no Archeops, and there's no way to find Archeops, and that's the big thing that Dan is missing right now. Putting the Capture Energy on Oranguru on the surface is, I mean, personally, the way I view it is you kind of just want to start powering energy up into the Lugia. There is the potential that Isaac is just going to want to maybe put together something like a Path to the Peak Marnie combination if that's available. You have to maybe be thinking that through. And by putting energy on Oranguru, if Path Marnie comes down, there's no gusting happening as well. The Oranguru is most likely going to get knocked out, and the energy is going to be removed out of play. At the same time, you want the ability to potentially pivot out the next turn. So these are the decisions that Dan has to make. Also grabbing a second Lugia as well. This is sort of the advantage you have as Isaac of playing a deck that maybe people aren't as familiar with. Most Lugia lists, people know about 55 to 56 of the cards that everyone is usually playing, somewhere around that range. But with a deck like this, you don't know if your opponent's got something like Double Turbo Energy, Choice Belt, Zigzagoon in their deck to take a knockout on Lugia. So because of that, you have to play down extra 2-prize Pokemon, which Isaac is more than happy to see.
Yeah, and another 2-prizer coming down in that Lumineon V, another Lightning weak Pokemon as well. Easy prizes, not just numerically, but you don't even need to go all in to get there. So a lot of cards being played down for Dan, but he does have to execute on his second turn, and he's going to need a little bit of wiggle room to be able to do that. Lumineon Luminous Sign does dig out that Professor's Research. I do quite like that artwork. It's one of my favorites. I like that he leans over and touches the board. But he's just checking the hand. I mean, it's a tough call, right? You want to be able to see more cards, but you're giving up one of those V-Stars. So maybe just holding on to that one for now, as it's going to be passed back over to Isaac. Now, he needs to keep the ball rolling. Radiant Gardevoir hitting the bench, and Energy going in there, along with, I believe that's a boss on the Professor's Research, and he's just starting to hit everything he needs. Arceus V-Star coming to the fore, going to have access to Star Birth. and kind of set this one up really, really nicely.
It's just checking out the Arceus. Like, we haven't seen it in a while, right?
Yeah.
It was Palkia dominating before Lugia VStar, and that was what took over a while. So seeing Arceus back in the forefront, definitely a surprise. And there's the Starbirth being utilized. And this can grab several different pieces. Most of the time, you'll see double turbo energy get grabbed. That's the piece to start powering up these Pokemon.
Yep.
Interesting choice over on Dan's side last turn. Did not play anything like the Bird Keeper as well. Could have still played the supporter card for turn, but it's like, what Pokemon do you want to switch into? You're already not wanting your 2-price Pokemon to take damage and put pressure on. So most people would say, hey, well, I've got 3 cards I can draw here, but the cost of it could be a lot. But Isaac at this point is going to easily be able to get this Trinity Nova off, take the knockout on the Oranguru, start to power up this Flying Pikachu, and the Radiant Gardevoir as well, providing an extra little cushion. It's a nice Radiant Pokemon in this deck. This deck isn't screaming to play a Radiant Pokemon like the Charizard or the Greninja. It doesn't fit very well into this deck. Gardevoir is just a good Pokemon that having in your deck means that sometimes the math is just a little bit too difficult for your opponent to overcome.
It certainly changes things up a little bit and makes players think twice, maybe adjust where they put their energy in certain cases to make sure that it can overcome some of those damage adjustments, I say. I don't really want to give it too much credit, but Loving Veil being able to reduce damage from Pokemon V is absolutely huge. It is, of course, going to be a Flying Pikachu VMAX setup as well. I can imagine, based on what we saw Isaac digging to the front of his deck, he hasn't had to go back and shuffle up because I imagine there's going to be a very fast follow-up Trinity Nova, but he's still got a couple more cards to play. I mean, he's got another Arceus in hand, may not even need it. He's got another Flying Pikachu in hand. He's swimming in those. He's got options to search his deck and discard pieces as he needs. So there's the Quick Ball goes down. There's the Flying Pikachu V hitting the discard pile. Not going to need any more than 2 of those, I don't think. And just able to keep the ball rolling. So, even though he pulled those energy to the front, he is going to have to shuffle after the Quick Ball gets the Espeon V out to prevent against something like that Evoltile that we've been talking about so much that a lot of players have been relying on, and keep things going there.
Yeah, so a lot of these Arceus decks, as of recent, are playing Path to the Peak to shut the opponent down. Isaac not choosing to play it, but for a very smart reason. The main reason is that Path and Espeon both don't work together. You can't have both, right? You can't shut it down. And there are better Stadium cards that could be a little bit more intuitive and better to work on the first turn of the game. So Isaac deciding to not play that, instead going for the Stormy Mountains as well, to just be able to search out some of these Lightning-type Pokemon. And actually ended up grabbing double Turbo Energy and the Flying Pikachu VMAX off of the Starbirth, which means this way, the only way that Lugia can really deal with Pikachu well is just immediately off the bat, knocking it out as soon as it gets energy on. That way, you're taking prize cards. Your opponent won't be able to use a Pokemon that can just take a one-hit knockout. However, that's not going to be possible now that this Flying Pikachu is a pretty big, hefty boy. He's got 310 HP. He's in the sky, and I mean, don't let that smile confuse you. That is a scary Pokemon. That is a Pokemon that is looking to hunt.
Looking like a Thanksgiving Day parade balloon out there, being able to cause some problems in that sense. But I mean, it's going to cause more problems when it hits the active and is starting to do damage. That's where it gets really concerning. Good news for Dan, he is able to evolve this Lugia into a Lugia VStar. He's able to get the Evoltile down, try and use that maybe before the Espeon becomes a factor. But then he's drawing up with that Professor's Research we saw him grab. Problem is, the Professor's Research draws you the Archeops, and he doesn't get to use it to discard one either, so that Summoning Star is going to be weaker. He can get at least one in there with that Quick Ball that I see, so being able to do that. He's going to be able to pick up another one with the Evolution Incense as well, and Isaac, yeah, check and see if there's one that's maybe got in there under the radar a little bit, see if there is a big Summoning Star coming, a double Primal Turbo to follow up as well. So plenty of options for this deck. The Evolution Incense actually grabs the follow-up Lugia VStar. So confident he's... Oh, he does have 2 Archeops in hand. There it is. Oh, he does have 2 Archeops in hand. There it is.
Here where you're already on the back foot. You had no way to gust this Pikachu up this turn.
Nope.
It's more than happy to just take a knockout. The Espeon's on the bench, so potentially there's no way to take a one-hit knockout onto this Flying Pikachu. And now at this point, you're not even able to get multiple Archeops into play to make that a possibility. The only way Dan can really pull this matchup, or rather, the key card here to help him is that amazing rare Yveltal to potentially trade really favorably into this Flying Pikachu. You can't use Charizard, you can't Lumineon it, right? Max Balloon does prevent all damage done to it by basics, but Amazing Destruction isn't effective in attack, so it does still go through that Flying Pikachu.
And you got to do it before the Espeon gets in play.
Time's
That's
ticking,
the big
right?
thing, is Isaac probably has a way to just dig that one out as soon as he needs.
Well, it is in the prize cards right now, so I think Isaac did still decide to grab it, which is still a smart play because, again, as we mentioned before, playing off your prizes is really important. Understood, hey, I'm taking a prize here. The positive for me finding it next turn, the 1 in 6 chance I have to find it, is so beneficial to me to just pretty much win this game up. But
that's a summoning star for just the one. Being able to put just one Archeops
But
down.
look at that, the Oranguru is going to come back as well. You can pick 2 colorless Pokemon from your discard pile, and I mean, we don't see that a lot, and it's not great right now. I'm not celebrating Oranguru coming to play as much as I love Oranguru, but still, this is what I was saying. You're already on the back foot. This is not a great matchup as it seems, especially when Isaac can just pop off like he did on the second turn of the game. Now you only get 1 Primal Turbo, which means your options for dealing with this Pikachu are even less. And you can potentially knock out this Lugia if there's an attachment for turn, right? But that doesn't really do you much on the other side of things, right? I mean, we will see the Primal Turbo at least put some energies on. When it comes to math into this Arceus VStar, we'll need to find 3 powerful energy if there's nothing like a choice belt in the hand already to take a knockout. Just calculating some math, making sure everything's on the same page. But again, the question goes, Isaac already has knockout on board. The Flying Pikachu on the bench is going to easily come up and take this knockout on the Lugia. It's really on there for Dan to just decide, how do I respond to this? How do I deal with such a scary threat that is this Flying Pikachu?
Well, he's starting to power up his Lugia. It's slow and steady, and he's still going to be on the money, but not enough to get those knockouts either, especially with the Loving Veil in there. That's going to make things even easier.
Oh, yeah, that too,
That's going to force powerful energies, but because you're only getting 1 Primal Turbo a turn, you're kind of forced into taking a double Turbo every turn. Because you need, let's say you're streaming the Lugias, you got to get 4 for the Tempest dive. So, we're now going through the math. We're at 220 to start. We've then got the powerful energy. Let's just rule that one out. The Loving Veil says absolutely not to that. So it lands...
it's 180, because the double turbo brings it to 200, then powerful, no, it's 200, so
it's 200, it's correct, on board.
200, yep.
Yeah, so that's basically correct. The powerful, the double turbo cancel each other out, then you got the Loving... It doesn't matter how you cut it, you just got to...
Up and down and left and right, we got all sorts of things happen with this Lugia deck. And
at least they're all consistent numbers, right? At least it's 20 across the board.
Luckily it works in that.
Two down, 1 up. So it's a net of -1. I feel like I'm doing stat calcs in
You
VGC.
don't need to overcomplicate this much. There's a
it
Pikachu.
does 200.
Look at this Pikachu. The Pikachu is just going to... We don't have to worry about numbers with Pikachu at this point, right? And Isaac is more than happy to also not give these prize cards up on this Arceus, and I just fear things are going to snowball here for Isaac. He's already got the Flying Pikachu up. There's only 1 Arceus in place, so this Yveltal will not be online the following turn. You can only get 3 of the 5 energy needed onto it, potentially powered up. And even getting a second Flying Pikachu. Isaac's game plan is very linear with this deck. Arceus gives you the options, but makes your game plan as linear as you want. Set your attackers up, power them up, and from there, it's as simple as just dealing damage. We've seen this with Arceus paired with other Arceus. We've seen this with Arceus paired with Duraludon, which has sort of made a little bit of a resurgence this weekend, but it's that simple. The Max Balloon dealing 160 damage, times 2 for the weakness. That's more than enough to take a knockout on Lugia VStar. He's flying through the skies. He's saying, hey, Lugia, you're cruising through. You're traversing the skies here, but I'm the new king in town.
I mean, it was the king a little while ago, and now it's come back to haunt these Lugia players as the Lumineon V is thrown up into the active, another Pokemon that is going to be easy pickings for this Flying Pikachu V Max. Just being able to take 2 prizes pretty much across the board at its leisure here. There is a world where this Yveltal is going to have to be the focal point. That Espeon V Max is still stuck in the top row of the prizes, but I just don't see a world, I mean, particularly with just the 1 Primal Turbo. How on earth do you power that up in a timely fashion without showing your hand? You know, you could Primal Turbo it now, right? You get some special energy on there, you're getting close, but you still need to weave in a manual attach and, of course, you know, another Primal Turbo the next turn. And if you show that to Isaac, he's just going to target you down.
Yeah, so, again, remember this Pokemon. So these energies can't really go on Lumineon because, I mean, you can Aqua Return, you can put it back into the deck, but you're not going to be dealing any damage with it. But unless there's something like a boss's order. So the damage does line up actually on the Arceus on the bench. So that could be a potential play that Dan is looking at. This way you remove a 2-prize Pokemon from your board. Let's take a look and see this, though. Okay, so still has Private Wisdom. This is also an interesting choice as well. Still needs to find the attachment for turn. Did still find it there, but usually with sequencing, you want to not use the Primal Turbo first because you have more energy cards in your deck. That way, you see one card that's potentially an energy, and then you work from there. However, yeah, we are going to see the Lumineon come down. So Lumineon's already here. It's already, so my bad. Lumineon already has double turbo energy on it, so it's dealing enough, and we are going to see the Aqua return, but
no damage.
Yeah, there's no damage from Max Balloon, so I mean, it goes back to the deck. So, I mean, maybe Dan forgetting about the effect. Sometimes people don't remember. It's just the Pokemon that deals 160, and I mean, it's one more small thing, right? That's just going to push Isaac's advantage even more in this match.
The big thing here, I mean, at least Dan can slow the game down a little bit, right? Throw him up, feed him up another one prizer, so the return, getting it there. But don't think it's going to be there for very much longer. The Lumineon, Luminous Sign, get that Serena out, and of course, be able to drag up that Lugia VStar. Guess what it's weak to? It's still weak to Lightning. That hasn't changed between turns, and it's still going to give up 2 prizes very, very easily. So Isaac putting himself very comfortably in the lead as, yeah, it's just going to be a scoop there. The SP1 VMAX still stuck in the prizes, but not relevant in this one at all.
Yep, you can see how dominating that is.
Well, so that's going to be a problem. Evolution Incense ×2, captures Powerfuls and Ultra Balls. It's a pretty rough set of prizes for Dan, especially when it comes to focusing up, as we've said, on the Archeops, being able to grab that early and then throw it away with something like the Ultra Ball, with something like the Quick Ball. This turn, though, Dan and Nagirneac will be going first, and he's going to get things going. Love this play. Lugia V, throw the capture energy on, grab another piece of the puzzle right here.
Yeah, we've seen these most games so far on the stream with Lugia. Great way to start your turn off. No dream scenario looking like in Dan's hand. Again, we'll say this all weekend long, but the Ultra Ball away, double Archeops is always what you're looking for, or at least be able to get some into play, because you have to consider you've only got 2 turns to make it happen. You're going to be drawing a lot of cards. You're most likely on your second turn going to play that supporter card to draw yourself more cards. And you've also got to find yourself the Lugia V-Star. It's a lot of pieces you have to search for. Oranguru here is a nice choice. You could dig through the deck a little bit more, try to draw into another card, but at this point, not much else is going to change. There's now so many energy in this hand. You can afford to just have the one Lugia in play, but the clock's going to be on you next turn to find the V-Star and get attacking. Otherwise, Flying Pikachu can get powered up this turn potentially from a Trinity Charge, and it's already in hand there. Has the Arceus and the double Turbo Energy, which means Dan's definitely not going to be able to play something like a Boss's Orders and get Summoning Star out and knock out this Flying Pikachu that's about to get fully powered up. And actually, speaking of everything that Isaac can do, that's it. Can just utilize this Trinity Charge. But again, when your opponent did essentially nothing last turn, I mean, it's not great to not have much going for you, but it's still a good feeling to know I'm at least going to be in this game, and I could definitely take control because my opponent is not really applying any aggression onto any of my Pokemon as of right now. It can all change, though. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Arceus be pulled out of absolutely nowhere and just thrown in the discard pile, but yeah, we'll have to see on this turn.
Let's see how Dan responds to this very solid, very simple opening turn from Isaac. Just being able to get that Flying Pikachu V set up with the energy required and start going from there. Lugia V, of course, needs to see a little bit more, and that is going to be a big helpful Lumineon. The awkward thing here is that hand is full of energy. That's going to be 2 Aurora and, I believe, another Capture. So not going to be able to pull those out the deck if he is able to find that Primal Turbo play, which is obviously what he's digging for. That said, he's going to be able to go in his deck and pull out a supporter card right now with the Luminous Sign, and it's Professor's Research, which with that hand, it's a bold move. Let's see how it pays off.
Yveltal is your key in this matchup, and if you're just going to right away discard all these Aurora energies, I mean, you could have just played the one onto the active to potentially get rid of the Archeops in hand, but I mean, this is one of the things you got to think about. I mean, there is a Hiding Dark, but that means now you can't attack with Charizard and the Yveltal in the game unless you play this. And I mean, you grab the research out of the deck, but Marnie just got played, and now you have a 2-price Pokemon on your bench. So maybe Dan was considering the options and then maybe realized, hey, I can't get rid of these Aurora energies. I'd rather try to save my situation here a little bit. Does find a way to get one Archeops in the discard pile, but with this hand, no Lugia V-Star. Can at least get down another Lugia V, so Summoning Star will be a potential. You need to at least use Summoning Star somewhere in this game.
You've got to do it for 2 as well. I think bench is getting pretty full there as well, so even if he does Summoning Star, he doesn't have 2 spots available right now. We'll have to do it after something's been knocked out potentially and be losing that prize trade. I mean, unless he can get that Luminion back out maybe, or you know, maybe,
Okay.
maybe another Aqua return.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not enough Archeops in the discard. I mean, look at that. There's 2 cards in there. Archeops Quick Ball. The Marnie was also from earlier. So yeah, we're just trying to keep things going.
I think we're all good here. I think everyone's on the same page. We're gonna see, what is that? Read the Wind, the first attack on the Lugia V. Still getting used to everything, but there it is. We're gonna see Storm Mountains come into play. All right. Last time I feel like I saw this card was in the Flaffy Box deck, just to get out these basic Lightning Pokemon into play. And I'm gonna need a quick read on that as well. Get this basic Lightning Pokemon into play. Get the second copy of Flying Pikachu down into play, and that way it just kind of becomes a. Wait, how are we? We're quick balling. Sorry.
We're still quick balling.
We're Story Mountains. We're not using it yet, and now we're going to use Story Mountains.
We were talking so much about Story Mountains. I saw the Espeon and immediately thought, what on earth? But then, of course, everything's in order here. No reason to worry. And yeah, it's pretty simple. He's going to be able to use the Arceus VStar to go grab which pieces he hasn't been able to yet. And that seems like a pretty easy path right now, being able to just dive on in there and grab exactly what is missing. Looks like he's digging with research in mind, probably wants to confirm the evolution on the Flying Pikachu, and there it is. So he doesn't have to show them, he can just take them face down, but he is essentially going to reveal them pretty much immediately after. Evolve that Pikachu, and then just go for a fresh hand of 7.
So Isaac is in a really dominating spot right now, but even when you're in a spot like this, things can turn around quickly. So Isaac has to be aware of everything that Dan can do the next turn. So the most Dan can do potentially is something like the Yveltal play.
Yep.
But the problem with the Yveltal play too is it would remove this Flying Pikachu. However, you saw here, if I believe it was grabbed correctly, something like the Air Balloon potentially. No, instead just going to be the supporter card instead. There wasn't much else going on in the hand. Yeah, just the Arceus V in the hand. So I think Isaac is really trying to find a way to maybe pivot this Arceus out of the active without getting rid of this double turbo. Means that if for some reason this Flying Pikachu goes down, you've got a great attacker to take a knockout on this Yveltal. You just go ahead and knock it out, and then you just power up your second Flying Pikachu that your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with in their deck.
Well, didn't have a way around it without giving up that double turbo, and that's fine. You know, he can, of course, play with the Flying Pikachu as the focal point. You know, does get to save it for later as well. Needs to, you know, try and get some more energy in play. You know, power up a second Flying Pikachu. But honestly, I don't even know if it's going to go that far to begin with. The Flying Pikachu did go into the active. Looks like we're still deciding. Dan reading the Espeon. So we do still need an active Pokemon at the end of all of this. And it is going to be, yeah, the Flying Pikachu VMAX.
Yeah, and so I think Isaac is definitely scared of the possibility that Yveltal can come down next turn and take a knockout. It would leave Isaac with no energy in board, and the scariest thing possible is letting your opponent use Amazing Destruction twice.
Yep.
It's 110 HP Pokemon, so most Pokemon in the format can find a way, or decks can find a way to take a knockout on it in return, but if you just let that thing take 4 or 5 prizes for free, essentially, the game can just turn on its head upside down.
The other thing about it is, maybe Isaac, in my opinion, being a little cautious of the Yveltal. Yes, Amazing Destruction is a problem. But how is Dan going to get there? Yes, you still have a Lugia. You know, at the end of this turn, you will have a Lugia V. You still need to be able to Summoning Star. Okay, now he needs to get another Archeops in there. Also needs to get the Yveltal out and find it. And do all of that without sacrificing a huge amount of energy, which is something he was toying with earlier, being able to do that. So still a long way to go, I think. You know, there is an evolution in Sense, Ultra Ball. He could get there.
It's like very hard.
Close.
It's hard because the last 2 bench spots have to be for Archeops, but if you play something like the Summoning Star, then Collapse Stadiums, then Lost Vacuums the stadium away, then benches. Okay, that's too much. I'm not going to count on it next turn.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because the Lugia first one has been removed from play very comfortably by Flying Pikachu VMAX. The weakness meaning it's an easy knockout and an easy 2 prizes for Isaac. His board is set up pretty nicely. He did manage to get that Radiant Gardevoir back down as well to mess with the numbers with the Loving Veil. And then cause some problems. But yeah, once again, we're actually back into pretty much the same situation we had in game number 1. Flying Pikachu VMAX comes up, takes the knockout. Luminion V stares it down and can't do anything against it as a basic Pokemon.
Absolutely. And this is the turn for Dan to turn this game around. Otherwise, Isaac can just run free. There's the potential to use something like Boss's Orders to take more prize cards next turn, to power up another Pokemon. And here we go. This is going to be a big-time turn. Does find another Archeops, and I already saw the Ultra Ball in hand. So that means that Lugia VStar can finally come into play. We will see a full effect Summoning Star, if that is the option that Dan wants to go for. I definitely wouldn't advise against it, though. That's definitely what this deck wants to be doing.
Yeah, there's still a lot of steps to be going, and I don't know if he has all the pieces required to get there. Of course, the Ultra Ball is going to get rid of the second Archeops and the Serena, so the support for turn looking to be that Marnie. The big thing here is, maybe that step we were talking about. Could Lumineon get out of the way to potentially make up that bench space for the Eviltal, or are you just giving up too much in those turns?
So it gets hard, right? Because you can't Aqua Return into this active. I mean, again, it could be the same situation as game one, but the problem is you're not dealing damage.
Yep.
We could have seen the Serena get played there and bossed up the other Pikachu V. That way you at least put some damage on. You have to really assume that Isaac's way of routing these prizes is just to utilize 2 Flying Pikachu at some point in the game. Maybe weave an Arceus in here somewhere or not, but those are going to be the main attackers because it prevents a lot of the late game strategies for Dan of being used, like the Radiant Charizard and Lumineon looping, to be able to just preserve the energies really well and not run out of those. However, at this point, we will finally see the Summoning Star come down. So both these Archeops are going to play. Hey, listen.
We saw it. We finally got there.
It's here.
Yep.
And Primate Wisdom as well, but does put the Yveltal back. So I think with the way that Dan's hand is shaped out, Dan understands this play is just not a potential. But again, I have to wonder in this position, like, what attacker do you want to use? I have to imagine Lumineon here, if there wasn't an effect on the Flying Pikachu, would be a fine attacker into here. You can utilize it, go into something like the Oranguru, and hope to put your opponent on like a weird, odd prize trade and try to just take these 3 prizes that way. However, if you're not dealing damage to this, you're not really progressing the board state at all. You're removing, I guess, a liability on your board. Lumineon is considered a liability, but at the same time, you're just giving your opponent an extra turn. They're going to be halfway to winning. You haven't dealt any damage to your opponent on the board. Sure, you have powerful support Pokemon like Archeops, but what else are you doing?
Yep, no, both trainers are filling up their lost zone. That's something we haven't talked about for a little bit. Not talked about yet today. Lost zone, not really relevant here. These trainers not looking for any of those counts, but good to keep track of.
Yeah, if Sableye comes down, I might have to actually walk out, so.
Yeah, if Sableye comes down, I think we'll be a little bit shocked, but I don't see that one forthcoming in either of these lists. We'll be safe for now. Maybe we'll get some Lost Box later. That's one of mine favorites as well. But, powering up the Lumineon again, it does have, the double Primal Turbo now, so able to actually dig out way more energy than it was before. But these decisions get really, really tough. There's double Turbo down onto the Lugia. So we've got 3 more choices to go. He's pulled another double Turbo up to the top, so that's got to be on his mind. Just seeing how he can, flush this one out. Could just be putting down an energy, retreating maybe, and going from there. He's got to be careful. So it's powerful energy.
So even with 4 powerful energy and a choice belt does get there. It's 330 minus the 20 from the Gardevoir. Means that you're doing exactly 310 damage.
Yep.
However, it's all going to be there. And the fact that it's not means that right now, only dealing 260 damage.
Yep.
You have the V-Guard energy, but unfortunately, V-Guard energy doesn't do anything in this scenario.
Yep.
Because 160 times 2 weakness, V-Guard energy applies after weakness. So the weakness is calculated, it's 320 minus the 30 damage from V-Guard. So it doesn't mess anything up there with the math that way.
Does not save you against a Flying Pikachu VMAX. That's all he powered up. And, did manage to get a supporter going.
That was it. I think the turn was just passed over.
No, he played the supporter.
Oh.
He had the money.
Oh, my bad. He played Marnie, right?
Yeah, so he played that. Seeing if he can hit the next energy.
Okay.
But he's still short. Like, he's still not going to be able to get the knockout here on Flying Pikachu. At least he's putting, damage down. The Aurora energy is going to be used to bounce it back to the bench and get that Lugia V into the active. But the big thing here is, if you don't knock out Flying Pikachu V max, it just max balloons you the next turn. Looks like they're doing the math. They're just making that count right. So it is going to be short of the knockout. Flying Pikachu V max sat on such a healthy amount to try and work through. Everything's in order. It goes over to Isaac, and I think Dan is just going to get punished for this very, very quickly. There's a double turbo energy attached to the Flying Pikachu V max that he just benched, so he is now absolutely set to use that in the following turn. He's just going to be able to go for it, It looks like we're discussing the V-Guard energy. We're just
with
checking.
with the weakness, yeah.
Yeah, we're just seeing how it works with weakness and resistance, but it's not going to be enough, I'm afraid.
Yep. Luckily, it's after. If it was before, I think it would have caused a lot more problems, and I think it's a lot more balanced that it is after the effect. So happy that that's the case in this position. And yeah, Isaac is just running away with this game as it stands. 2 Flying Pikachus fully powered up. Can even potentially get the Espeon VMAX into play. That would prevent any effects from really dealing with this Flying Pikachu in the active. And again, Lumineon would be a great play from Dan the following turn to finish this off, but the Max Balloon prevents that from happening.
Yep.
It would not be possible. And because of that, Isaac's going to go down to 2 prize cards. Dan really is struggling to find a way to respond. I'm struggling to think of a way that Dan can pull this back, but we've seen comebacks before in the Pokemon trading card game. We'll see if Dan has any tricks up his sleeve.
I think it might be a little bit too far to stretch, but we'll give him the opportunity to do so. We'll see how he does it, but there. Confirmation, the V-Guard energy does not save you, and you do go and lose that Lugia VStar. At least it got to Summoning Star for 2 Archeops this game. That's definitely a win. And realistically, Isaac is just looking for the final piece. I think I saw it peeking in the back of his hand. He could wrap it up the following turn, and I don't know what options Dan has available to him. Yes, he could start powering some things up with these Primal Turbos, but he still needs to get the Archeops out of the active and go from there. So let's see what energy he pulls from it. It's going to be a double turbo, and I believe that's a capture that I saw there.
So there is a potential, if Collapse Stadium is still in the deck, you can Collapse Stadium away the Lumineon. And then from there, if the Archeops didn't attack, let's say the Oranguru attacked this turn to finish the knockout off, then potentially Yveltal's still an option, right?
Yep.
As long as Espeon doesn't come down into play and something else.
The comeback here, I guess, he's going to try and Speedwing, right? He can Speedwing now, get the knockout, and then you've left the Archeops in the active.
Yeah, I think it pretty much just becomes like pray your opponent doesn't have boss. That's pretty much what the strategy is at this point.
Okay, well, we did get to see the Yveltal finally, so that's something. We do like to see that, but that kind of forces, you know, the play here for you know, Isaac to maybe, if he's worried, get the Espeon V out. But just looking in the back of his hand, pretty sure it is what I think. I could be wrong, but if he just assesses the board, he's going to be able to check on those 2 prizes that he needs and just go from there.
Yep, Lumineon is weak to lightning, and we're just confirming that. That's it. There's the boss's orders. Bring the Lumineon up. And there it is. Max Balloon is taking the... okay.
We haven't figured out if we're handshaking or fist bumping yet. I think we're still on the fist bump. But that is Isaac Milaski taking a very clean set of 2 games, showing that there is a deck out there that can sell.